Scales. That's what this video is about. What is a scale? Simply put, it is a collection of notes. Often, typically, when they are played or learned, they are played from bottom to top and to bottom again. As you heard at the end of that riff. But the other important thing the other important reason to learn scales for is that chords and melodies often live inside them. Together, those make music or songs. In this case, Pure Imagination, 1971, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, just before the Oompa Loompas show up. So in this video, we are going to learn how to build a major scale and a minor scale, two super fundamental scales from anywhere on the keyboard, any of the 12 notes that are on the keyboard. We're going to do this with two different approaches. One of them is a little bit simpler than the next. It's kind of a bit of a set of training wheels for that second technique, but it's worth learning just for the sake of getting there. And that first technique is called the stepwise approach. Stepwise because it is used in the way that you think of the scale as moving ahead in half steps and whole steps. A quick refresher, although if you don't know what a half step and a whole step are, you should check out this video, which is really the first in this series. But still, I'll go ahead and give you a refresher here real quick. A half step is the smallest kind of distance between notes that exists on a piano. And there are a few different ways that this can appear on the keyboard, right? So if you start with a note, to get a half step up, you have to play the very next note above it or below it, but in this case, above it, whether that note be white or black. So in this case, the very next note is here. That is our half step. But it's not just white to white that works. There are two different ways it could look like. Obviously, you could do white to black. This is a half step. So is this and this. And then black to white. This is a half step here. Those are kind of the three ways that a half step can appear on the keyboard, right? And then, of course, a whole step is, you guessed it, it is a double half step. So a whole step from here is going to be this right here. So in this first approach, let's look at the major scale and we'll analyze kind of what the order of half steps and whole steps is for us to progress along the scale and end up finishing our major scale. And for the major scale, let's go ahead and look at C major. For the simple fact that it's pretty simple, right? It's all of the white notes between C and C and none of the black notes between C and C. That is your C major. So what kind of whole steps and half steps pattern are we looking at here for a major scale? We're starting from C. We could start from anywhere. It's important to remember that. But for C, or anywhere, it goes whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Again, it's from your starting point. Whole, half, whole, half. There it is right there. From the E flat major of Pure Imagination, it's going to be whole, half, whole, half. I'm not saying it doesn't take a little bit of time to piece that together from any note, but it's foolproof. That is the way you build a major scale from anywhere. Let's do it from E major as well. E, last bit of practice. E, whole step, half step, whole step, half step. Whole, half, whole, half. And there you have it. Now, what about the minor scale? Well, again, we're looking at a chain of whole steps and half steps. They're just in a different order, okay? And our cheat sheet for minor is A to A. That, too, is all of the white notes and nothing but white notes. That's only the case for A minor, just as that was only the case for C major. If we do any other minor or major, we're looking at a mix of white notes and black notes, all right? But here we go. We've got our root note. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. One more time. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. And let's go to E and do that from there as well. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. One more time. Whole, half, whole, half, whole. That's your E minor right there. Now let's turn to our second approach, which also you can do from any notes, and that is the interval-based or intervallic if you want to use an adjective approach. How it works is that instead of thinking of it as what is the previous note and how do I get to the next note every time, you are thinking about every single note's relationship to the root of your scale, the very first note. So let's do C major. Let's go back to major and C major. And we're going to analyze and we're going to pick apart what all the intervals are in this from that C. And again, if you don't know intervals at all, might want to check this out because we're just going to label them here and we're not going to pick that apart too much. Here we go. It's a major second, a major third, a perfect fourth, a perfect fifth, a major sixth, a major seventh, and an octave. On the way down, a major seventh, a major sixth, a perfect fifth, a perfect fourth, a major third, a major second, and our perfect first. Now, if you had to use just words to describe what this scale contains, how could you do it? Well, it's pretty easy, right? It turns out that all of those intervals are the major ones and the perfect ones. So if you take any note and you build all the major intervals and perfect ones from that note, you've got your major scale. That's why we looked at E major earlier, and let's do it again, because this scale specifically, this key, provides a really interesting kind of visual for us. All of the major intervals are on the black notes, and all the perfect ones are on the white notes. We're just going to keep going here with a major sixth, the major seventh, and the octave. One more time. Major second, major third, perfect fourth, perfect fifth, major sixth, major seventh, and octave. Major seventh, major sixth, perfect fifth, perfect fourth, major third, major second, and perfect first, all on its own. Let's turn to minor now. If major was nothing but major intervals and perfect intervals, it would stand to reason that, I don't know, maybe you're guessing already, that the minor scale is all of the minor intervals and perfect intervals. Let's give that a shot. From E, I'm just going to tell you that it looks like this. And that's not quite minor. This scale exists, it's valid, it has a name. We'll get to it in future videos, but it's not minor. How the minor scale works is that it has a major second, from E again, that's going to be a black note, and then, from then on out, it is all of the minor and perfect intervals. Minor third, minor sixth, minor seventh, octave, on the way down, minor seventh, minor sixth, perfect fifth, perfect fourth, minor third, major second, and perfect first. So in this little technique here, we are always keeping one foot at the bottom of the staircase, right? And I haven't found that a lot of people practice scales this way, but I'm telling you, it's worth it for the sake of really learning what these scales consist of in this way on an interval kind of basis. Here's another characteristic of this system that's worth remembering, and that helps you, in fact, remember it, is that the major and minor scale, which are both indispensable, fundamental, can't skip them, have to learn them scales, they're both 7-note scales. Heptatonic scales is another way to put that. And both of them have a second and a third and a fourth and a fifth and a sixth and a seventh. They both have one of each. Whether that second and that third, etc., are major or minor depends on the actual scale, what it is. If the scale is major, all those intervals are major and perfect. If the scale is minor, they are all minor and perfect, except for, as we just saw, the second, which is major. That's both a quick way to learn it and kind of one that helps you understand the nature of it. So it's worth kind of keeping in mind. And why do they both have perfect intervals? You might be able to anticipate that, those intervals are perfect. They're not major or minor, so they don't have any sway over the majorness or minorness of those scales. So why near the beginning of this video did I say that the interval-based approach is basically better than the stepwise one? Well, let's go ahead and look at E major. And let's go ahead and make an analogy here. Let's use our own pure imagination to imagine that playing a scale is like crossing a river at night. Can't see much. There are all these little stones half emerging out of the water. Those are your notes, and you have to skip and jump across on the right ones to get to the other side, right? So if you are using the stepwise approach of knowing your whole steps and your half steps, you're basically, in this analogy, holding a lantern. And you're able to see the stone in front of you and in front of you and in front of you, and of course the one behind you, in front, in front, in front, in front, in front, behind, behind, in front, behind. And of course, as you do this, you can kind of get a sense of remembering where the stones were as you cross the river, and that helps you kind of do it a little bit faster. And that's nice and all. But if you learn the E major scale or river with the interval approach, you are really turning on a floodlight and fully understanding and seeing every single one of the stones in that river. And of course, that helps you make actual melodic leaps that are greater than a whole step or a half step. It allows you to jump across the river using fewer stones. And certainly in pure imagination, that's not it. That's something else. That's summertime. In pure imagination, same key, muscle memory thing. You are making those melodic leaps in amounts much greater than a whole step and a half step. Good luck doing that with just half steps and whole steps, right? So that's why it's worth learning. Thank you for sticking around and going through these. Go ahead and keep practicing in a bunch of different keys. Both of the approaches are great. Again, they kind of build on each other. And in fact, in the next video, we're going to look at a third approach for being able to build a major scale or a minor scale from anywhere. And just like these techniques, those aren't just useful. That third technique isn't just useful for figuring out what the major scale is, but it also gives you a deeper understanding of how this all works. So thanks for sticking around, and I will see you in the next one.